Hi, welcome to week 5. We are going to start with chapter 13, which are called arrays. Now, the best way I can explain what an array is think of a bookcase. You're going to create a bookcase to hold books, and you're going to need shelves. So what we're going to do is we're going to build a bookcase, and then for each item we're going to put on that shelf, we're going to build a shelf for it. And so if I'm going to get the item off of shelf number 2, I can basically call that whatever I name that bookcase. I'm going to say, grab that bookcase, shelf 2, and give it to me. Or I can say, I want you to put this on shelf number 2. Now I do want to basically really specify this, that in this situation, the numbers always start with 0. So the very top shelf inside of that bookcase is going to be 0, then 1, then 2, and so on and so forth. So if we go into the very first page, 146, let's go ahead and take a look at that. Wrong one. So let's open up chapter 13, Intro to Arrays. And if I just want to create an empty array, I say let groceries equal left and right square brackets. Now these are square brackets, these are not parentheses. Now that's just an empty. But if I want to load it with something, I can actually do this, and I'll show you later how we can actually add items to this groceries list. So let grocery list equal milk, eggs, frosted flakes, salami, and juice. And then I can say document write grocery list 2. Now remember, the shelves start with 0. So it's 0, 1, 2. So it should say frosted flakes. So if I double click on Intro to Arrays, there it is, frosted flakes. Okay. So this is just creating a simple book, or I should say array. Okay. The square brackets, we can create an empty one and then load things into it, or I can actually create it and load it at the same time. If I want to get an item from an array, I can actually say the name of the array and then that number of that index of that item I want to basically return. If I want to add something to an array, I'm going to go to add array. So here's what we do. Here I've got let grocery list equal milk, eggs, frosted flakes, salami, and juice. And I'm going to basically I'm going to use a for loop to display everything inside that array. So I'm going to basically create a variable x while the x. Now here's something that this is built in to JavaScript. I can use the parameter, the argument method. That'd be a method. Anyways, I got a method called length that will return to me the number of items in that array. So I can say while x is less than the grocery list dot length, that means in this case there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So while the x is less than 5, we're going to go into this loop. At the end of every loop, we're going to add 1 to the x. I'm going to go ahead and say write document write ln grocery list x. So give me that numeric value of that array. So the first time through is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then when x gets to 5, that's going to force us out of that loop. And then I also am going to write the length of that grocery list. Okay. Now I want to add something to this. One way to do it is what's called a push. Now when I do a push, that's always going to add at the end of the array. So I go ahead and add. I'm going to go ahead and write a dash line there. And then I'm going to go through that array list again and display them. Now remember, in this particular case, at the very end now we have cookies. So that length is now no longer 5, it's now 6. It's going to go through that. Then we go ahead and say unshift bananas. Now the difference between push and unshift will always add to the beginning of the array. A push will always add to the end of the array. So we go ahead and add that. And now when it says do that grocery list.length, that's now 8. The length of that array is now 8 because there should be 8 items in there. And then I'm going to write the length, and then I'm going to say push snack cakes, and now I basically add snack cakes to the end. So now when I get done, there should be 9 in that particular item. So let's go ahead and run this. And there we can see there's our original, where it basically, let me just bring the code back up again. So there's our original. We just go ahead and we write out the list and then the number of, or the length of that. So there's the 5 items and there's the number 5. We go ahead and add cookies to the end. Notice cookies is now at the end. Now there's 6 in the length. And then I go ahead and unshift bananas. Notice now bananas is at the beginning. And there's now 7. And when I do a push of snack cakes, that adds it to the end, and we now have 8. So we can add to the beginning of an array, we can add to the end. Okay. Now let's say I want to remove something. So let's open up chapter 13, number 4. I'm sorry, 3. So we take a look at that. Now we've got this big, huge list. We've got 8 items, bananas, milk, eggs, all the way through snack cakes. We're going to go ahead and display everything. Write a dash line. This time I'm going to say, let last item equal grocery list.pop. Then I'm going to go ahead and write the last item. Okay. And then I'm going to go through the for loop again and display everything. And I'm going to write the length. I'm going to write another dash line. This time I'm going to do grocery list shift. Okay. Now, if we look at the book, it shows that when adding an entire array, we use the unshift or push. The returned item from that method is called the new length. Okay. So going back to our add array, when I did, if I were to say, let item equal grocery list dot push cookies, what's going to be put into item is, let me do that real quick. I'm just going to do a console dot log item. Okay, and I'm going to save it. I'm going to come back over here to number 2, and I'm going to do a rerun of it. And we go into console, and notice I've got, well, is there 2 consoles in here? Oh yeah, right. That's what I was trying to. Yeah, that's what I was trying to show. So over here, when I say console push the grocery list push snack cakes, what it's showing is it shows the numeric value. The difference between doing a shift, unshift, or a push, and then a pop or shift, they basically will show the actual items. So what do I mean by that? Let me get rid of that first. I want to save this as is. So when I do let last item equal grocery list.pop, and then I basically display that, and then I'm going to go through the list and show how many items are left in the array. And then I'm going to come here and do a first item, let the first item grocery shift, and I'm going to display that as well, and then display the number of items. So I'm going to display that first item. So pop will remove the very last item, Shift will remove the very first item. So we can kind of see how that works. So let's go ahead and run it. And there we see bananas. Let me go ahead and bring up this console. So there we've got our 8 items in our array. It shows a number 8. We got last item equals snack cakes. Then so the last item was snack cakes, and that was removed because we did a pop. We show the array then, and we only show 7 items now. There's a count 7. And then I say the first item, so when I do a shift, it removed bananas from the list, and everything that's left is only 6. So pop removes from the end, shift removes from the beginning. But the difference between unshift and, I can't believe I forgot already, push, sorry. The difference between unshift and push is that will always return the index number. When we do a shift or a pop, that will return what was removed. So 2 big items there to kind of always keep in the back of my mind to know what's going on there. We can merge 2 arrays together. So let's take a look at that. So I'm going to open up 13 number 5. Should be number 4. Hold on. Let's try this again. So I'm going to do a open and go down to 13, and there is array merge. So pretty simple. I got two arrays. I got good. It's got 4 names in it. Looks like this somebody is a Super Mario Brothers fan. So we got Mario, Luigi, Kirby, Yoshi. We got bad was Bowser, Koopa, Troopa, and Goomba. And then I say let good and bad equal good. So it's going to take the good and say concat bad, merges them together. Then I'm going to go through a for loop where I'm going to say let x equal 0, and while x is less than the good and bad dot length, I'm going to go ahead and write it out. So let's go ahead and take a look to see what it looks like. And boom. Notice it basically has all of them merged together. So we can actually take 2 arrays, merge them together. Now you'll notice that it took the bad and basically glued it to the bottom of good. So when we do a concat, it just does it to the end of the other array. Now if I would have done let good and bad equal bad dot concat good, and the bad would have been up front and the good would have been at the bottom. Okay. So we can basically take two arrays and blend them together. So the next part of the chapter talks about mapping, filtering, and reducing arrays. And it says before we talk about map and filter and reduce, it says it wants to talk about how we would I'm trying to look at my notes here. So before we talk about that, let's look at the non-breezy approach first, their words. This is an approach that typically involves the for loop, keeping track of where the array you're in, and then shedding certain amount of tiers. Okay. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. It should be number 5. So we got our grocery list of 8 items. I'm going to go ahead and display that grocery list. I'm going to display the length. I'm going to put a dash line. Then I'm going to say let result index equal grocery list dot index of eggs, and then the 0 is going to be the where we want to start our search from. Okay, so if I'm coming in here, the 0 says basically start right here at the beginning, start at the 0 index of the array, and then basically go forward. And so then we're going to go ahead and display the results. We'll also display it on the page as well. So let's take a look at what just happened there. So there's my array, there's the A, and it says, oh, eggs was found at index number 2. So there's 0, there's 1, there's 2, and there's eggs. Okay, so that is one way to find an index of, that they call that the old school way. And it says you'll find yourself taking the items in your array, manipulating or accessing the items for some purpose, and returning a new array with your manipulated date. It says that's why, so we had to basically create that new item. So that's why map, filter, and reduce were introduced. You get the flexibility of using a for loop without the unwanted side effects of all that extra code. So it basically kind of simplifies things. So again, the way I just showed you is kind of like vars. Those are the old way to do things. This is the new, more efficient way to do things within JavaScript. So let's talk about map first. So let's open up the number 6. Hold on. Okay, I have the correct one now. Okay, so this is the map. So here's how it works. I'm going to say let names equal Marge, Homer, Bart, Lisa, and Maggie. Now notice all the first letter of every one of those words in that array are lowercase. I've got this function called capitalize it up, and we're going to pass in an item. We're going to say let first letter equal item dot char at 0 to uppercase. Okay, so the first letter of each item that's brought into this is going to basically, we're going to convert it to uppercase, okay? And then what we're going to return is the first letter, and we're going to concatenate this item dot slice. Now we're going to get more into slice in the next chapter. What that says is starting at position 1, grab everything else of that particular item. So when we grab each one of these items, character 0 will be converted to an uppercase, and then from position 1 on will be glued to the back end of first letter, and then it will be returned. Okay? So this is going to get a string of text one at a time. The first character will be converted to uppercase, and the rest will be then glued to the back end of that item and returned. So now we're going to create let new names. So we're creating a brand new variable, and it's going to be equal to names.map, capitalize it up. So what it's saying is, and map is kind of a cool thing. It says I can see there's an array. I'm going to go through each item one at a time and pass it to capitalize it up. You'll notice it's not like a standard function where we pass it to that function one at a time. This says, hey, maps knows that, hey, I know this is an array. I know I'm going to deal with each item one at a time. And oh, by the way, you want me to call capitalize it up for each item that we basically get. And that's basically what's going on there. And then what it does is it gets brought back into and loaded into new names. Now, since names is an array, new names says, oh, I need to be an array as well. So when each item gets passed back into new names, it will become an array element as well. And then I'm going to go ahead and display it via a for loop. Basically going to write a dashed line, and then basically I'm going to then write that array out to the console. So let's see what that looks like. So there it is. Notice it's got Marge, Homer, Bart, Lisa, and Maggie. Notice that the first letter of each one of those items is uppercase. If I hit F12 to take a look at my console, there I can see I've got an array of 5 elements. And I can expand that array, and it shows that 0 is Marge, 1 is Homer, 2 is Bart, 3 is Lisa, and 4 is Maggie for a length of 5. So, pretty cool. So that's the map feature. So let's talk about, now they do talk about this, and I want to express this as well. On page 156, it says meet the callback functions. Now what a callback function is is it's kind of like a function that's called within another function. And we've kind of sort of seen this in some previous items where we basically had a function inside of a function. But this is basically says it's a function also known as generically by another name that's called a callback function. A callback function is a function that has two things that it does. One is it's passed in as an argument to another function. So think of a function that is passed to another function. It is called from inside the other function. So again, going back to here, map is a function, and capitalize it up is also a function. So capitalize it up is basically passed to a function so that when it basically deals with each element, it calls that function capitalize it up. So again, that is called a callback function. Okay. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is filtering. So let's look at number 7, filtering. So we got the same array, Marge, Homer, Bart, Lisa, and Maggie. The first letter of each one is lowercase. I'm going to create an empty array called let new names equal nothing. Okay, so it's an empty array. So think of a bookcase with no shelves. That's what we have right now. We're going to add the shelves later. Okay, so then I'm going to go ahead and display the names. I'm going to go through a for loop for the names. Basically, while I is less than the names.length, so the number of items in that array. I'm going to say let name equal names I. So we're going to take each element out of the array and throw it into this variable called name. Then I'm going to say let first letter equal name.char at 0 to uppercase. So we go ahead and say let first letter. So just like on the previous example, we're grabbing the first character, the char at 0, the character at that position, 0, and we're going to convert it to uppercase. So the first letter is set. Then I'm going to say new names dot push. So here's the new names array dot push first letter plus name dot slice 1, meaning grab everything from position 1 on and glue it to the end of first letter. So here we're creating a new array, new names, just like we did in the old one, except we're doing it inside this for loop. We're going to go ahead and display the new names array in the log and the console, and then we're going to go ahead and display it via for loop as well, and basically a dash line. So again, if I were to run that, we pretty much get the same exact results. There's Marge, Homer, Bart, Lisa, and Maggie, all with the first letter all uppercase. And if I look at the console, there I can see the array of 5, and there's the same exact array. So we pretty much get the same exact results. But notice we got a for loop. We're not using a function, whereas this guy uses a function where it's basically a callback function because it's a function being called within another function. But we get the same exact results. Okay. Now, I want to get one item back from that array. Okay. So we're going to use what's called the reduce. So let's look at, okay, hold on just a sec. Okay, so I brought up chapter 13:10 reduced array. And so let's take a look at this. So I've created an array of numbers. I've got 1 through 12. And then I'm going to say, now this is where it gets a little kind of sort of complex. This is another callback function. So I've got let total equal numbers dot reduce. Now look at this. Inside of the parentheses, I'm just going to create a function. Remember how we can create a function without a function name? I'm just going to say, here's the function. I want you to basically go ahead and execute it. And I want you to take total and then current. And so it's going to basically, so here's what's going to happen is current is going to be the current item we're looking at, because reduce has this function that it's going to call. So we're going to basically take total and current. Now, total in this case is going to basically be the one we're going to add to. So each time we come into this, and this is kind of weird, each time it goes through this, it takes total, this guy right here, and it adds current to it. The current item gets added to total. And then when it comes back around, total still has a number in it, and the current number. So the first time through, total has nothing in it. We add 1 to it, so now it's got 1. The next time through, total has 1 in it. The current has 2, so when we come down here to return 2, 2 plus 1 is 3, and that gets thrown into total. Next time through, total has 3 in it. And then it got 3. Now he said go ahead and return 3 plus 3, which is 6. So you kind of see what's going on there. You'll notice that the reduce does have two parts. Here's one part, and the second part is 0, and that says where to start. So start at an element 0, and then basically go through each one of those elements one at a time. So kind of a cool shortcut. It's kind of takes some getting used to, but it does work. It does work. Trust me. So again, let's step through it one more time. So we're going to create a new variable called total. We're going to make it equal to numbers.reduce. Now think of this as kind of a loop. This is going to basically loop through this automatically one at a time. And what gets loaded into current is the current element item. And the function says I'm going to take whatever's in total, grab the current number we're dealing with, and I'm going to come inside this function, and I'm going to return whatever's in total and add current to it and throw it back into total. Then it gets called again, and it keeps doing that one element at a time. So when we get done, I'm going to go ahead and write it out in the console. I'm also going to write it out on the screen what the total number is. So when I run it, there's 78, and if I show the console, there's also 78. Okay. So these are kind of those strange things. If you're a programmer or you've done any type of programming, this really kind of doesn't make normal programming sense. You know, each language has its own kind of idiosyncrasies, but this is kind of one of those ones you kind of go, oh, it kind of blows your mind. But just realize these are the things you can do within JavaScript. So if you have an array of numbers, you need to add them all together. Maybe you might have a situation where every time you go through some type of a process, you want to add it to an array. Then at the very end of the process, you want to take that array and add them all together to get a grand total. And you can do that via the reduce function. On page 159, it talks about more on the callback function arguments. So let's open up the callback array, number 11, within chapter 13. And here we've got an array called words, and it's got where do you want to go today? And so now we're going to say let phrase equal words. So we're creating a new variable called phrase, and we're going to basically make it equal to words.reduce. Now this time, the very first item is a function again. I've got total, current. There is a third parameter of that function we can add, and that's called index. That's the index number. And it says if index is equal to 0, return current. If it's not 0, else return total plus, or concatenate a space, and then concatenate the current. And then we're going to return total plus current. Okay? So let's kind of break this down. So the first time through, if the index is 0, meaning it's the very first element of the array, we're just going to return current. Okay? If it's not, then we're going to take the total Now, here's where it's a little confusing as we're comparing to the other one. With the other one, we had two totals. We had the total that we're adding to, and then the total, that's the whole item together. And since these are not numerics, the total is everything put together, okay? So here we can't, so here's where it's confusing, is we want to find out, since it's a string, and we can't add to nothing, we're going to basically say, oh, if an index is 0, let's go ahead and set the current equal to the current item in the index. We come down here and I say return total plus current. So that's where we add the word where to the phrase. The next time through, since it's not a 0, we're just going to go ahead and grab the current item, which is in the total, add a space, and then grab that current item. So we'll add the do space do to the end. We'll come back around. Now we've got where do in total, and I'm going to add a space and current, which is you. We come back around. Now I've got where do you. We're going to add space and current, and you can kind of see where the process goes from there. Now notice we got the comma null value because in the other one we said start in the very first index. Well, this one here we basically say, hey, just since we're using textual, just go ahead and start at the very beginning, which is the null value as well. We're going to go ahead and log everything to the phrase, and then we're going to write on the screen the phrase and then basically a breakpoint, and we're going to write a dashed line. So let's go ahead and run it. And that's where you see where they basically built that sentence, where do you want to go to today? Where do you want to go today? And again, if we look at the console, we basically get the same thing. So we wrote in both places. Okay, so that's chapter 13. A lot of cool things we can do with arrays. Arrays are very powerful, a way for us to kind of put things. A lot of times we'll put them in a staging. I kind of call it like a staging area. And that's the great thing about an array is we can kind of put them there to stage and then deal with them later. As we read things, we can load them into an array. And then when we're done reading everything, then we can deal with everything we have in the array, maybe their numbers, whatever the case may be. And then we can kind of utilize them from there. Okay, so that's it for chapter 13. Again, if you want to pause this video and go on and kind of play around with some of the different programs we just dealt with, you can do that as well. Okay. Chapter 14, we're going to basically expand on strings. Strings are, I kind of talked about primitives. Primitives are just what you get at face value. There's nothing else there. And then we have what are called objects. There's also some different things behind the scenes that you can get as well. And the strings for JavaScript are kind of both. We have what are called string literals. And that's what they are. That's just basically literally text. There's nothing else. And then we have string objects where we have like a char at. We have some other different methods that come with it. So let's take a look at the basics. And this is nothing new. We've seen this before. I've got let text. This is some text. Let more text. I'm a single quote. So we can actually put double or single quotes around it. But if you need to use a single quote within your text, you got to make sure you put double quotes around it. Then I've got let initial equal hello. And I'm going to say console initial plus world. And I'm going to say document write text with a line break, more text with a line break, and then we're going to concatenate. This is some more text. Okay. So if we run this, again, this is more review than anything. This is some text. I'm a single quotes. This is some more text. Take a look at the console. And then we can see hello world, where we actually have the text, the variable with hello in it, and then we glued world at the end, space world at the end. Okay, string properties and methods. So if we take a look at that guy, it's 14 number 2. So here I've got let vowels equal A, E, I, O, U, and I can say console log vowels, the number 2, which would be 0, 1, 2 would be the letter I, and I'm going to basically step through all the different vowels, displaying them, and I'm going to basically say, now this is a built-in method for a string object, is the .char at. So if you notice vowels with the index number 2, like an array, or char at 2 will return the same exact. Okay, so this kind of treats it like doing vowels with the left and right square brackets number 2 that will return the number 2 indexed item, but char at is a built-in method for strings, and that will return the same exact thing. And again, just ran it, and there is. So there I displayed, so there we did let me bring it up. So this guy basically logged vowels number 2, which is the I. Then I stepped through the entire array of A, E, I, O, U by doing a vowel at that particular item. I could have done this. I could have done vowels.char at. And I could have got the same exact thing. So let me run that again. Let's rerun this. Oh, I spelled it wrong. I got char T, not at. Let me run it again. So there we got the same exact results. The very first time it says, show me the vowel at that indexed item, I, and then I basically step through I do a char at, A, E, I, O, U, and then I say, show me the vowel at char at number 2, and I get I again. Okay? So the whole point of that is let you know that there's actual built-in string functions. There's little programming things, little functions that come with different objects, like the string object. Let's see, and then over on page 165, I did make a note of this. It says, when we're doing the char at, it says the end result is identical to what we see by using the array notation. This right here is called the array notation, using the square brackets. It says, I wouldn't use the char at method unless you care about really old browsers like Internet Explorer. So the char at method is a kind of a newer thing. So if you're going to be using some of the older browsers, which I seriously doubt anyone is, I don't think it's anything you have to worry about in today's world. But yeah. So just be aware of that, and that's on the top of page 165. Now we can concatenate strings, and this is nothing new to us. We've seen this. So if we open up concat strings. Here I've got string A and string B. I am a simple string. I am a simple string 2. I do a console log string A, concat space concat string B, so it glues them together. Here I'm going to let text A equal please. Let text B equal new string. Now, if anybody who's ever done any object-oriented programming, this is how we create a string object. Okay. I'm going to instantiate it as a new string object, and inside the parentheses I've got stop exclamation points. What that's going to do is that's going to create a new string object called text B, and it's going to load it with stop exclamation point. And I'm going to say let combine equal text A plus space make it space text B. And I'm going to go ahead and throw that into the console. Then I'm going to say let foo equal I really, let blah equal why anybody would, and let blarg equal do this. And I'm going to say let result equal foo.concat space, quote space don't know double quote. And then we're going to do a comma, double quote, a space surrounded by double quotes, comma blah, comma space surrounded by double quotes, comma blarg. So again, concat takes foo and then glues all this other stuff inside the parentheses to the back end of foo, and then we're going to display the results. So let's take a look at that. Let's run it. Notice nothing is shown on the screen. We have to go to the console to see it. And there it is. I am a simple string. I am a simple string 2. Those were concatenated together right here. And then I've got please make it stop. So here's my please, which is text A, and then space make it space, and then text B stop. So it basically glues it together. And again, they're just trying to let you know that we can create string objects. They're kind of string objects as it is. They're just trying to make it more concrete at that point. And I really don't know why anybody would do this. So this is basically the foo. I really don't know why anybody would. And then blarg is do this. Notice we did concatenate spaces in there as well, so it was spaced out evenly. So concatenation, because you can see 2 or 3 different ways we can do that. So again, kind of nothing new for us at this point. Now, the second part of this chapter talks about substrings, how we can grab a string and take stuff out of it. So the very first thing, now we've seen this, we saw this in the previous chapter, we got the slice method. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at chapter 14 for substrings. And so the first thing I got is I've got let the big string equal Pulp Fiction is an awesome movie. Then I'm going to say console log the big string dot slice 5, 12. Now what we saw in the last one, we said if there's one number in there, it's going to start at that position and grab everything. Slice says I'm going to go from position 5 to position 12. And that's what I'm going to basically display. Here it says slice position 0 to position 6. Now we've got negative 14 to negative 7. Whenever we see negative numbers, that starts at the end and goes backwards. So it's going to start at negative position 14, so it's going to be at the 14th position and go to the 7th position. And it's going to bring back that part. Okay? Now substrings are just like slices. They're identical, except the first number says start there. The second number says for that length. So it's going to start at 0 and go for a length of 4. 5 is going to start at 5 and go for a length of 7. And then we saw this in the last one. It says start at position 5 and bring everything back from 5 on. Okay, so if we go ahead and run this, got to look at the console to see everything. So here we see, so 5 through 12. So that'd be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so that's fiction. And then 0 for 6. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, it's probably got a space on the end. And then we've got negative 14 through 7. And that is, looks like space AWESOME. Okay, so and then substring, we said start in position 0 for a length of 4, and so there's PULP, 4 characters, and then 5 for a length of 7, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we've got starting at position 5, boom, and it grabs everything, position 5 on, and there it is, and displays it. So slice and substring do the same exact thing. It's just what the second number is used for. In a slice, it says go from that position to that position. In substring, it says go from that position for that length. What if we need to split, kind of separate out a string? So let's take a look at the string split. And so here I've got let inspirational quote, and it's called that which you concatenate, comma, you can split apart. We're going to say let split words equal inspirational quote dot split, and then space. So what's going to happen there is it's going to take each one of these words and it's going to load them into split words as an array. So that's basically what split says. Split these by each space, so the space is the separator, and grab everything that is not a space and basically throw it into words as an array. Now we're going to say console log split words dot length, so it's going to tell us the length of it, how many items are in that, how many elements are in that array, and then we're going to go through a for loop to display all the different words. So we're going to take the split words dot length, we're going to basically display them one at a time, and then we're going to basically do it in a document. We're going to display a dashed line. This time we basically say let days equal Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Okay, we got all the days separated by a comma. Then I'm going to say let split days equal days dot split, and we've got double quote, comma, double quote. So it says, hey, separate them all out by comma. Now here's the nice thing, is up here when I say split by space, the space is not included in the array. These are just the words. So same thing down here, the comma is not included in the array called split days. And then we're going to step through that one at a time. We're going to display the length of each one of those, and then we're going to display each element out of an array one at a time. So let's go ahead and run string split. So there it is, that which you concatenate. Notice the comma gets included. You can split apart. Notice we got Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and the comma is not present. If I look at the console, it says there are 8 items in the first array and 7 items in the second array. I keep wanting to ask if you have any questions, but I know you can't because that's usually what I'm used to lecturing. So the next thing we have is how to find something inside of a string. And so let's go ahead and open up chapter 14, number 6, string find. And so we've got let questions. We created a variable called question, and we're going to make it equal to a string literal. I wonder what the pigs did to make the birds so angry. And so now we're going to basically say console log question dot index of pigs and console log question index of z. I don't see any z in there, but so what it says is, hey, what position is pigs in and what position is z in? And then we're going to create a second question, number 2, how much wood could a woodchuck, if a woodchuck could chuck wood? And then we're going to say question of dot last index of wood, and then last index of wood, comma 30. So what that says is, show me the very last, what index does the last wood show up in that list, that string list of items. And then make sure you show me, then 30 is basically saying where do you need to start from, okay? Now, I really don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this because we can spend an entire week, a class of 4 hours a day of just talking about this thing called regex. And I kind of talked about that, I think, a few chapters ago. That's short for regular expression. And this is really super, super, super complex, but they really just kind of touch on it here. So we've got a phrase called, there are 3 little pigs. and let regx equal, now when we got a forward slash and an ending forward slash, everything between there is going to be treated as a regular expression for JavaScript. Now I've got a left square bracket, 0 through 0-9, and then a right square bracket. And what that says is I want you to look for all of the numeric values inside of that. So anything from 0 to 9, I want you to grab and throw it into regular expression. And then we're going to go ahead and say let numbers equal phrase.match regular expression. So there it basically is going to, anything that matches what's in that regular expression, go ahead and throw it into numbers. And then we're going to go ahead and say numbers 0. Okay? So, what if I had, there are two pigs. And what if I got rid of this? Well, let's do this first. Let's run it their way first. And then we'll go ahead and so let's take a look here. So we got index of pigs, and that is on position 18. Where's the index of z? Notice so whenever you get a -1, that basically says I didn't find anything. And then we've got index of wood, last index, and that says 43. And it says if we want to start at 30, so if we basically counted over to 30 and then found the first position of wood, it says it's in position 43. So there's wood, 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 and wood. Then we got there are 3 little pigs, and there we are saying with using regular expression, and I'm telling it only look for numeric values within that, and basically match them up to that regular expression and throw them into numbers. It says, oh, there's the number 3. Okay. Again, what if I had the number 2 in there, and I'm going to get rid of, and just say display the entire array? What would happen? Yeah, so 3 is index 10, and there are 3. Yeah, it's regular expression that always confuses me. Yeah, it just, what if I did? If I did, so it's maybe there's 2 in there, what would it give me back? That'd be fine, yeah. Now, what if I leave it as 0? What happens at 0? What does it bring back? Since there's 2 numbers in there, it still brings back 3. Yeah, like I said, I've dealt so little with regular expressions that the only time I ever have to deal with them if I'm ever maintaining some code and I come up with it, and I usually have to go get my regular expressions book out and kind of relearn the whole thing again. So yeah, it's very powerful. I will say that it's very powerful, but it is really archaic to try to understand what is going on there. Okay, the last thing this chapter talks about, and we've already covered this, so I'm not going to spend that much time on it, but we've got 2 upper and lower case. So here I've got let the phrase my name is Bond, James Bond, and I say change that phrase. I'm going to say log phrase dot 2 uppercase and log phrase dot 2 lowercase. I could say I could have said this. I could have said let stuff equal phrase 2 uppercase, and I could have done that as well. I got the same exact results. So let's go ahead and run that, and we're going to see that. Now open a console. We see my name is Bond, James Bond, all in uppercase, and my name is Bond, James Bond, all in lowercase. So I'm going to cut this lecture off right here. I'll be doing another video lecture for the next, maybe I'm going to try to get through all the next 4 chapters, but we're going to call this a quits for this lecture. I'll try to keep them right around an hour long. Okay, so we'll see you next lecture.